The Washington Commanders wrapped up their 2025 NFL draft, and they did it in grand fashion. They went out and got a running back in the final round of the draft, and we're going to break down the picks for this year's group. You know, we talked with Lance Newmark, who's also a guy that's a budding GM in this league. He works closely with Adam Peters, and Lance, you know, feels really good about where the team is and the direction that they're going.
Really excited about what was available for us at each pick. And we stayed true to our board and really stayed disciplined. We came into it with the mindset that we could do that, you know, with what we had done in free agency and with what we had done with our roster to get to, you know, the mid-70s numbers-wise and not having glaring holes everywhere. Like, we felt like we could go into this with, hey, this guy is the best player. He makes the most sense. We're not, you know, tied to need. We're not tied to we have to have this. And it's a great feeling going through 3 days with that mindset.
You know, when we spoke with the players today, all of them talked about competition. They all talked about how they look forward to coming to Washington and competing and have an opportunity to play. And I think the confidence is there for this year's rookie class.
Today, they talked about competition, and that's what they want to bring to the table. Do you envision this year's draft class being able to hit the field, early in the season?
It's really hard to predict that. I think we have hopes that all of them can impact our team this year. The one thing I think we're really confident in is they'll be able to come in here and compete. And I think we told them all that, is that when we draft you and when you come here, you're going to have a chance to compete. And whatever you earn, you earn. But that's the one certainty, is that they'll all have a role and they'll all compete to have an impact on our team in 2025 and beyond.
The other thing is that a lot of these guys mention their faith and how that's carried them through. Some of them were captains as well. Is that a trait that you guys are really looking for in your players?
It's not like this box has to be checked or this box has to be checked. I think we have a really good feel, especially whatever this is, 14 months in or 15 months in, of what kind of a person we want here and what kind of a person can survive and thrive in this environment. I think every day that we're together and that we are here, we figure that out more and more and more, what kind of a person is going to really have success here and potentially, reach their highest heights, like I talked about, and I think in all these players, we saw the kind of people we feel like can have success here.
So without further ado, let's take a look at this year's group. The Commanders started off the draft with the 29th pick, and they took Oregon offensive tackle Josh Conerly, who I'm projecting to start at right tackle for them when the season starts this year in September. He's a dominant force, has great handwork, really nimble on his feet for a man that size. So I think Josh Conerly is a great pickup for the Commanders in the first round. Then they went in the second round with the 61st pick in the draft, and they took cornerback Trey Amos from Ole Miss. And if you don't know much about this guy, he's a physical, rangy cornerback that likes to come up and have press coverage. Just think a bigger version of Marshawn Lattimore. So I think he's another guy that's going to come in and compete and have an opportunity to hit the ground running and be on the field on opening day. Now, this is where things got interesting, because remember, the Commanders didn't have a third-round draft pick. They used that in a trade for Laramie Tunsil. So they were without a third-round draft pick, so we had to wait till the fourth round. And what did they do? They went out and they got Jalen Lane, a wide receiver from Virginia Tech. He's a speedster, folks. He's a guy that really can get after it and stretch the field. And I think he's more of a little bit of a bigger version of Deebo Samuel. Maybe not in size width-wise, but I think as far as height, at 5'11", he's still another guy that the Commanders can use in Cliff Kingsbury's intricate offense. So after Lane, what did the Commanders do? They went out with pick number 205 in the sixth round. They pick up a linebacker and they pick up a speedster. They pick up Kane Madrano. And he's a guy that, when I was in Indianapolis, really wowed us with some of his physicals. And he was one of those guys that tested in the top 10 percentile of all linebackers in Indianapolis as far as his athleticism. Had a great vertical jump, had a great broad jump. This was a guy that his shuttle runs in between, his 10-yard dashes, everything solidified him and showed that he was an athlete. He's a converted wide receiver, so you can tell, and Lance Newmark said this to us as well, that you can tell that some of his offensive play carries over to the defensive side of the ball where he anticipates things. And he's a guy that also has a nose to be around the football, something that the Commanders are always looking for as far as a person that can force turnovers. So Kane Medrano, welcome to Washington. And then finally, to wrap this thing up, in the 7th round was a running back that came in for visits. He was part of the Commanders' 30 visits a couple weeks ago, went to Top Golf and everything and hit it off with them, and they really liked him. Who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, a running back out of Arizona. Washington took him in the 7th round with the 245th pick. And he's a guy that has an opportunity. He really does to challenge to be on the field at that running back position. If you don't know much about this guy, he's transferred around. He was at New Mexico, did really well there, and wanted to step his game up. So he transferred to Arizona, but because of some issues as far as eligibility, not because of grades, just because of years played previously when he was at Alabama State, he couldn't play. So what does he do? Most guys would sulk. He doesn't. He stays around and he helps his teammates. And then he has an opportunity to showcase his talent in the MVP of the Shrine Bowl. So you think about all the different things that he can do. He's a one-cut back that can take things to the house, and that's what the Commanders are looking for, a tough physical runner, but also has some speed to make plays. So if you look at the 5 players in this year's draft, they're really good. I think that the Commanders nailed this draft. I tweeted that out earlier. I really do. I think Lance Newmark, Adam Peters, of course, the GM, they nailed this draft. They gave Dan Quinn more arsenal, more weapons to work with. They shored up a lot of positions of need. Obviously, the big talk will be about edge rusher, but I want people to understand Javon Kinlaw, who they went out and got during free agency, they're expecting him to be a disruptive force on the defensive line. And I'm telling you right now, he's starting the season as an edge rusher. He's going to be on the end. The other one on the other side may be Dorrance Armstrong or Dedrick Wise. So Washington feels pretty good about where they are right now. Remember, there's still cuts that'll come up later on in the summer in June, from other teams. So perhaps there could be an edge rusher sitting there. But I feel like the Commanders feel like right now their football team's primed and ready to make another run at a Super Bowl. And as long as you have number 5 on the other side of the ball, things will be well. So the Commanders look like a team that's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I'm excited about some of these young prospects, adding them to last year's draft class. Remember, there were 4 or 5 players from last year's draft class. Jean-Baptiste, the defensive end from Notre Dame. Jordan McGee, linebacker from Temple. Dominique Hampton, who's a converted safety, now playing linebacker from Washington State. And then you have guys that were undrafted last year. Tyler Owens is one of those guys. So I think the Washington Commanders are in good hands right now. So the 2025 draft class is in the books. Now we'll see as far as some of the undrafted free agents that will be signing over the next couple days, and we'll keep you posted with that. So here in Ashburn, I'm Lake Lewis.